Well, we haven't talked a lot about the new things coming to Virginia Beach in a long time. So what I want to do today is talk about some things that are coming to Virginia Beach, updates or brand new things that I think are worth mentioning to you, that if you do plan to move here or do live here, it's going to definitely impact your life living in Virginia Beach. And it also might affect the value of your property. And depending on where you want to move, it may affect the potential appreciation or value changes based on what's coming to these specific areas in Virginia Beach. But a big reason why I want to talk about these things is so you know if you plan to move here and you plan to buy a house in a specific area, this may affect positively or maybe be a drawback to a specific area you want to move to, and it may affect where you want to move and how confident you are. So the first thing is that we talked about Pharrell Williams, funding what is called the Atlantic Park, which is over at the ocean front. About 2 blocks off of the beach, there is a place called the Old Dome site, which what used to be a big concert area. It's a dome. It was a dome, an old dome in the 60s and 70s. Well, that area now is just a big parking lot and has been planned to have a huge concert area, a common space, restaurant, office area, movie theater, all designed in the same area, but surrounding a wave park, the first of its kind on the East Coast. Construction started already, but recently it is just past the 50% completion time for phase 1 of 2 phases of this site. So first look on the map. So you go into Virginia Beach, you zoom in towards the ocean front. I showed you the Dome site is the place this is going to be between 18th and 20th Street. So right here, you see these 3 blocks right here. So you zoom out, you can see where the used to be parking lots and just kind of an open area, but construction had started for a while, but we're about 50% done. Now there are 2 phases. The first phase encompasses majority of from Baltic over to Pacific Avenue between 19th and 20th. And the area between 18th and 19th and Arctic and Pacific, that's phase 2. But phase 1's the biggest part. That's going to have the wave part. That's going to have the concert venue. It's going to have 3,500 indoor seats and then extending out to about 5,000 total, including outdoor space. It's going to have stuff like the movie theater. It's got restaurants. It's going to have office space, shopping. All that's going to be in this whole area. Now, it's going to be fully open at the exact same time, but the fact that we're 50% completed even as of early summertime is a good sign. They're projecting this area to be pretty much done by the spring of 2025. Construction is going at a pretty rapid pace, so I think this is going to change the dynamic of how it feels at the ocean front. I think this is going to be a unique type of destination, a venue that will bring a lot of people to the area that wouldn't have thought to come here in the first place. So I do think that's a positive. Now, separate from that is the area around it. So 21st, 22nd, 23rd, like the neighborhoods just north of there, Beach Borough, and even going further south, Shadow Lawn, the neighborhoods nearby, there will be some effect here. I think some traffic increase. I do think also you'll find more demand for Airbnb in the places that they're allowed to have Airbnbs, which aren't too many around the ocean front, but that's the ocean front overlay district is the area that allows for Airbnbs. So if you do plan to buy a house in Virginia Beach for something like this and then the Airbnb, just make sure that you know where you can and can't Airbnb, because it is very specific as to where you can. And so I would actually suggest not doing that because there are so many places that you can't. So unless you're confident about the revenue and where you can do it, I wouldn't suggest buying just for that reason. So if you do plan to move to Virginia Beach, just keep watching. This should be done mostly in spring 2025, at least phase 1. You'll start seeing more things open up as we go further into 2025 and beyond. But again, this is going to change the landscape of the ocean front pretty quickly and pretty drastically, I think, especially right in the middle of the ocean front. Next is, okay, this is a pretty big one if you like outdoors and you want to get out. So biking specifically. There has been a proposed bike trail that is going to start at the ocean front and extend all the way through to Norfolk, all the way through the city. I'll show you where we're talking about here. It's going to start at the Newtown Road HRT hub, Hampton Roads Transit Hub, which I'll show you where that is. So 264 here, Norfolk and Virginia Beach connect right about here. Let's actually show you exactly where that is. Right there. Okay, so the hub is right here. So it's going to start right here. Well, if you look here, you see Southern Boulevard. Okay, well, there is an old train railway that has more or less been abandoned over time, right? And if you look and you see Southern Boulevard, just south of there, you see that train line? Okay, well, the bike trail is going to continue from Southern Boulevard all the way across. You see here, all the way across, over 264, right near Town Center, keep on going all the way Lynn Haven, just north of the Oceana Naval Air Station, all the way to Norfolk Avenue, okay, right here. And then it will continue down to all the way towards Rudy Inlet. So this is a pretty big deal. And one of the reasons I think is because this area is well known to be terrible for people that want to commute any way outside of cars. You need a car if you live in Virginia Beach. It's one of the pros and cons I mention a lot. As far as cons, you need a car. Public transportation just has generally been, to me, terrible. But this is going to change for walking, to me, and also biking, to where you can go from the oceanfront, bike all the way across the city, right down the middle of the city over to the edge of Norfolk, and it's going in separate phases. Here's the map here. So you got phase 1, Newtown Transit Station to Town Center. That's what I just was talking about. And then phase 2 is going to be from Newtown Center over to South Plaza Trail, over closer to Rosemont Road, over this way. So that right there. And then South Plaza Trail over towards Bird Neck. And then, so Bird Neck Road's right here, and then connecting over to the Rudy Loop Park section that already exists. And this is going to be the southern portion of the Southern Hampton Roads Trail, which is going to connect from Virginia Beach all the way through Suffolk. I like biking, and I don't like riding on the main roads. It can be very, very busy, and just, it's a lot, and I get used to it. But it's not ideal. And so if you drive off or bike off of the main road into other neighborhoods, that's easier. But again, there aren't a lot of designated places for bikers or pedestrians. This is going to not only help parts of Virginia Beach, but it's going to connect the entire city to Norfolk, for example. And eventually, the whole Southampton Roads Trail will connect all the way through to Suffolk. So if you do like Virginia Beach, you like what's around here, you just don't like the idea that you only can drive to different places, I think this is going to help really amp up the ability for people to bike and walk around town and not feel like you're just stuck to having to use a car. Now, with the bike path, do I think it will change appreciation in different parts of the city? Not necessarily, but I do think that this type of addition to the city changes why people might want to move to the area, or just the general interest in moving to the area. So I think the overall demand of being in Virginia Beach could change by this bike path and walking path. And now, speaking of more transportation stuff, the Laskin Road widening project is on its way to being finished. It's almost done. It will finish likely in 2025. What is it and why does it matter? Well, I mentioned this before. So Laskin Road is where you know where Hilltop is. I like Hilltop a lot of shopping, kind of the more upscale shopping you'll find in the eastern part of Virginia Beach. Well, Laskin Road goes all the way towards the beach, and it connects all the way towards Virginia Beach Boulevard. Well, Laskin Road is super irritating. The reason is because it has what they call service roads. They're like the second section of roads that parallel the main section of roads that people drive on. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. So you zoom in on the Laskin Road here, you see where you've got the main roads. Okay, it's typical, 2 lanes, 4 lanes one way. But then you see right here, Laskin Road Service Road. This whole section right here has historically been a place where you can drive parallel to the rest of the traffic, but you can turn off the main road almost at the same spot as where the rest of the traffic does, going in the same direction. So see right here, you see this median? These are the 2 main roads, the main lanes, but then here's a service road, which has a one-way each way thing going on. So let's just say you're a car, you're on the service road, and you're driving down, going like you want to make a right here, going towards Trader Joe's, right? Turn here, well, you have to watch for traffic on this other road that also might be turning right, and you have to kind of keep your head on a swivel to make sure you're not turning into the cars they're already turning, because the people that are on the main roads, they're like, this is a normal turn for me. I'm not used to looking for cars to my right that are also turning in the same direction. And so not only that, but you're also watching oncoming traffic in the other service road that could also be turning at the same time. Super frustrating. This going to be the cause of a lot of accidents on Laskin Road. We finally are like, we've got to change this and get rid of these service roads. Well, the widening project is helping to do that. And so this widening project is going all the way through on Laskin Road, all the way through. This is all being widened as we speak. And the problem, though, is that with all the congestion created by the service roads and the narrowness of these roads in general, this old road, you now add construction and redirections and just constant road work in the midst of all this other congestion. So it's been so frustrating, such a hassle to get around in Laskin Road. Well, this is going to change relatively soon. I'd say in the next 9 months or so, you're going to see a drastic change in how the landscape of Laskin Road is going to be, and this widening project will be finished. I think it will definitely affect your commute, your comfortability to being around Laskin Road, and inevitably, I think it will also affect being able to get to and from places in Great Neck and over towards the beach. And I think that it may not really affect the property values as much of the area near here. But I do think that it will make, if you do live in the area or want to move to the area, in Great Neck or towards the beach, it'll make it a lot easier to get around. I think that's a big deal. Now, another thing, this is not a new thing coming to the area as much as it is a change in budget. The city has recognized that city assessed values of property have increased quite a bit over the last few years due to all the vast appreciation. Well, what they've done is they've approved for 2025 that the real estate taxes be reduced by 2 cents, essentially 2%, from 99 cents for every $100 of assessed value down to 97 cents for every $100 of assessed value. So 2%. So if your house, for example, is $500,000 and your assessed value might be maybe $450,000, that means instead of your taxes being $4,455, it's now $4,365. So basically reducing it by $90 a year. So not a huge difference, but it's a benefit, especially if you've owned your house for 20, 30 years and you would never have bought a $500,000 house if it wasn't already something you owned. That means that maybe the cost to own your house, you may not have planned for this increase in assessed value as much. So now it's going to drop a little bit. And the next is the city has allocated $4 million to build a green space, a kind of a public park open area in Rudy Loop. And I'll show you where that is. And this has kind of been, I'd say not an eyesore, but it's been a weird part of the oceanfront. So if you look at the oceanfront going to the south part, you'll see where it says Rudy Loop right here. Well, Rudy Loop is, if you go down to the oceanfront, you'll see that there's a lot of tourism and restaurants and hotels. But as you get closer down to the bottom here, it turns into kind of like this weird, funky, weird area where it's just a big parking area and not really sure what's going on. You can see the water on one side. It's a big loop, and you kind of feel like, all right, feels like a big cul-de-sac. Well, in the corner, you have Grommet Island Park, which is a nice little park right near the ocean there too. And that's where they have the East Coast Surfing Championship. So it's a pretty prominent corner. But this section right here where the loop is, just parking and just nothing, right? Well, they're budgeting $4 million currently to start a green space and area to kind of revitalize this corner. I think it's going to change how it feels down here. And originally the city was like, well, do we make this more into hotels? Do we make this like a green space? It seemed like the general consensus was that the green space was a preferred thing to put here. It's going to take a few years, but it's just another thing that Virginia Beach is showing that they really are trying to beef up the oceanfront and make it more of a destination. So I think this is a positive. And will it affect real estate? Again, I think all these things together at the oceanfront are going to boost the Virginia Beach oceanfront area itself. I think that the Atlantic Park is going to change the value demand of the area more, I think, than a place like the Rudy Loop, but it still helps. So I haven't mentioned anything about new restaurants. I like throwing new restaurants in here whenever I can and I find one that I like. Now, I've been going to the oceanfront recently, and I've noticed that there's a brewery called Aslan Beer Company that popped up on 17th Street. Okay, now I was like, okay, well, that looks interesting. Well, I looked it up and I like it. And the reason is because they got their brewery, they got their beer that they make there, but there is an outdoor section for people to spend time with people outside. But they have food. They serve a good bit of food, not just lunch and dinner, but also breakfast. And the restaurant in the brewery is called Izzy. They got coffee, they got bakery, and they also have pizza and regular food. So this is a unique thing, a nice add-on to what you would expect a brewery to have. It wants to be a place for people to gather. So they got more events. They got live music, a trivia night, and also movie nights. So if you see, even in August, they got Monty Python. In September, they got Ghostbusters, Napoleon Dynamite. So every week they got a movie playing also. So unique, cool things that most breweries don't do. And I don't know if it's because there's not a lot of space to do it or just they don't think about it. I think these are nice little additions, but also, of course, you have the beer. But then again, the food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. there are so few breweries that serve that much food. And one of the hard things about going to a brewery is you go to a brewery and it's like you got like maybe pizza, maybe some bar food. And if that, sometimes you don't get much of anything. They just have beer. So that can be frustrating if you do like breweries because you can't go there and have a complete meal. So this Aslan, I think, is a pretty good alternative that allows for not just a place to gather, events, things to do for people, but also a place to have food too. There's another thing that's happening on 17th Street that I'm a big fan of. If you go down 17th Street, there are a lot of good restaurants, some bakery, Prosperity Bakery, great sourdough bread, Commune, Hearth, a lot of good restaurants up and down 17th Street, in addition to Lolly's Ice Cream, which is some of the best ice cream in Virginia Beach. And if you live close to here, this is just another reason why 17th is really kind of ramping up as far as new stuff on the street. And Aslan Beer Company is just the newest installment of something interesting on 17th Street. So if you have any other questions about relocating to Virginia Beach or the areas around Virginia Beach, let me know. It's what I do. I love helping people relocate to the area. So if you have any questions, I've got my contact information in the description. You can email me, call me, text me, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.